So with the possibility of some huge shifts in U.S. immigration policy on the horizon, a really powerful response is starting to take shape. Today, we're going to dig into how immigrant communities and the nonprofits that have their backs are mobilizing. What our sources show is this multi-layered strategy, one that stretches from a family's living room all the way to the halls of power.
Okay, to really get what's going on, you have to understand the context. This quote here from Paromita Shah at Just Futures Law, it really sets the stage. It points out that even before any talk of new policies, deportations were already at a 10-year high. So, this isn't some brand new fear. It's an anxiety built on an existing reality, one that people feel is about to get much more intense.
And that existing anxiety? Well, this is where it gets amplified. The research points to a stated goal of carrying out the largest mass deportation in the history of the country. I mean, we are not talking about small adjustments here. This scale is just massive, completely unprecedented. This is the challenge that's sparking all the preparations we're about to walk through.
So, how in the world do you prepare for something that big? Well, what the research shows is that the response starts at the most personal level, with individuals, with families. Organizations aren't just sitting back and waiting. No, they're actively teaching people practical defensive moves for the here and now.
This emergency plan, laid out by the Immigrant Defense Project, is just fascinating because it's so incredibly practical. It's really about building a personal fortress, one brick at a time. So, step 1. Get your essential documents together, like your alien registration number, your A number. Step 2. Know your rights. Meet with a lawyer. Then you get into the stuff that keeps life going. Who has permission to pick up your kids from school? How will you get your essential medications? Can a trusted person access your bank account if you can't? Each step is a deliberate move to build a vital safety net.
But getting ready today isn't just about physical paperwork and plans. There's this huge modern threat that advocates are really sounding the alarm about. See, to pull off an operation on the scale we're talking about, you need data, a lot of it. And that's where digital surveillance, often supercharged with AI, comes into play.
This warning from Hannah Lugo at Just Futures Law is, wow, it's really stark. It completely changes what personal safety even means. So the main advice from these advocates is to just operate as if nothing you do online is ever truly private. This concern has made digital security a central part of preparedness, every bit as important as having your legal papers in order.
Okay, so if you have to assume you're being watched, what's the countermove? This is where knowing the tools becomes so important. End-to-end encryption is one of the key recommendations. Basically, it creates this private, unreadable tunnel for your conversations. It's why privacy advocates and the sources point to apps like Signal, to try and shield those sensitive conversations from the prying highs we were just talking about.
Now, all these individual plans are so important, but they don't just happen in a bubble. So how does this scale up from one family's emergency plan to a whole community's defense? The answer, according to our sources, is a really strong and diverse network of nonprofits. They form this critical line of defense.
And this response isn't just one thing. It's a whole network working on different fronts. The effort is built on these 4 main pillars. You've got the legal aid for the fight in the courtroom. You've got humanitarian help for basic needs like food and a safe place to sleep. Then there's the high-level advocacy, fighting for policy changes. And finally, the really essential work of keeping communities and cultures connected and strong.
And if you just look at a city like LA, you can see this amazing diversity in action. You've got El Otro Lado working right on the front lines at the border, giving free legal help. Then you have an organization like CLO, and they focus on the specific language and cultural needs of indigenous communities, groups that are so often overlooked in these bigger conversations. And at the policy level, you've got a powerhouse like CHIRLA, really pushing for pro-immigrant laws. Each one is a totally different but equally vital part of this whole ecosystem.
All right, let's zoom in on a couple of specific stories from the sources that really bring these strategies to life. You can see the powerful real-world impact of all this work.
First up, let's talk about United We Dream. What makes their work so effective, as the research shows, is that they focus on empowering young people, the very people who are so often the public face of all these policy debates.
In their own words, they are the largest immigrant youth-led network in the country, and their strategy is all about direct action. By organizing marches and sit-ins, all led by young people, they put direct pressure on national leaders.
They make sure the voices of those who have the most on the line are just impossible to ignore. Now, for a totally different kind of frontline response, one that grew out of the most basic human need there is, this is No Us Without You. This group got its start during the pandemic, when thousands of undocumented hospitality workers lost their jobs, like overnight. Their whole mission began with this simple, powerful idea: just deliver groceries to families who need them.
The scale of what they do now it's just incredible. 40,000. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's how many pounds of food they are giving out to families every single month. It's such a concrete, tangible way to see their impact. And it's this amazing example of grassroots mutual aid, a community literally organizing to feed its own.
And that brings us right back to this defiant statement from Paromita Shah. It just perfectly captures the determined spirit of this entire nonprofit world. It's this clear message of resilience, right? A refusal to just be passive. It speaks to a network that is dug in and is absolutely ready to fight for the communities it serves.
So after looking at all this, the personal emergency plans, the digital privacy tactics, this massive web of nonprofits and grassroots groups, the sources really leave us with one fundamental question. This whole mobilization puts the power of a community in direct opposition to the power of a national policy. And it really makes you wonder, what happens when those two powerful forces collide? That is the critical question sitting right at the heart of this entire story.